Hey, what's up, guys? Last week, I posted a picture of these cartridges to Instagram and asked folks to choose one for their gas gun carbine and one for their long gun or bolt action gun, based solely on performance. And what I discovered is we have quite the differences in definitions of the word performance when it comes to rifle rounds, what they can and can't do, and what we use them for. So I'm going to talk through each of these cartridges. We got 5.56 NATO, 6 ARC, 6mm Creedmoor, 6.5 Creedmoor, 308, 6.5 PRC, 7 PRC, and 300 PRC. I'm going to talk through them in like perfect world type performance, right? The best gun, the best weather conditions, et cetera, et cetera. What we can expect out of these in a perfect world. And then I'm going to talk about it in more of a practical sense. In other words, what is most common and what is more typical, what they're used for, what they can be used for, but also, what are they shot out of, right? Like a good example would be a 5.56. If you shoot it out of a dedicated SPR, 20-inch barrel, et cetera, well, yeah, shooting really high-end match-grade ammo, well, can we consistently smack 700, 800, even 1,000-meter targets with 5.56? Yes. That's just simply not very common, though, right? Most common is a 14.5-inch barrel, 16-inch barrel, not a precision carbine, et cetera, and that starts changing this round more into a 400-meter cartridge. And of course, its energy is another factor. For me, when I am considering a cartridge for its intended use, I'm only going to think external ballistics, how well it flies and how far it flies and maintains accuracy and consistency, but also how much energy it has at a range. So for me, like with elk, you're talking about, a 6 to 1,000 pound animal that I could potentially want to engage last light, the last day of the season, good weather conditions, 1,000 meters. Well, clearly I need energy, right? Any of these cartridges I can shoot very consistently at 1,000 meters out of any of my bolt guns, but only 2 of them have enough energy at 1,000 meters to effectively engage an elk. So those are just kind of an overview and parameters as to how we're going to define performance and discuss each one. So the 5.56, like I said, if we were shooting this out of a precision gas gun, a special purpose rifle, SPR as we call them in the military, then with 77 grain match ammo, 73 grain ELDX match ammo, right, we're going to be able to stack rounds at 6, 7, even 800 meters. Now, that's a perfect world. And at that range, we're talking 800 meters, we're talking 250, 300 foot-pounds of energy at the most. Not really enough to effectively engage any real game. Yeah, you could probably shoot some groundhogs or something like that, something small, but anything around deer size, 180 to 200 pound type animals, whether they're four-legged or something else, we've gone beyond that. The average person, the average use for this is a 14.5 or 16-inch carbine, and that's going to put this guy shooting, and also, right, the optic is going to have a say in this. So if it's a red dot, 300 to 400 meters tops. If we're shooting LPVO and the shooter is trained up on an app, a ballistics app or something like that, then yeah, 400 and 500 meters on steel. But it's really not effective, for hunting, that more practical use. Yeah, whitetail, pigs, 150 meters and in, we can use a hunting round here, and it'll get the job done. That eastern whitetail, shot plenty of eastern whitetail with 5.56, and the results were all the same, meat in the freezer. As far as the AR-15 box and that carbine, right? The average carbine is an AR-15. We have a couple of different choices of what we can fit in those boxes. To me, my choice and about the best thing available today is the 6 ARC. We're talking a 103 to 108 grain, easily available factory ammo bullet that's going to be moving at about similar velocities as the 5.56. So double the mass at the same velocities, right? So exponentially more energy. But it also, the cool thing about the 6 ARC is very high BC 6mm bullets. So this round is going to retain its performance, retain its velocity much further. So you're talking, heck, I have a 12.5-inch 6 ARC carbine that still has enough velocity at 800 meters to have enough energy to interdict, the 200-pound non-four-legged type animals. To me, this would be my choice. It is my choice for home defense. If I could have the military stay on the AR-15 size box, this would be the round I would choose. It's great for CQB, close range distances, all the way to 700-800 meters, easy peasy, out of a 12-inch gun, 12.5-inch gun. I also have an 18-inch gun, and it will stack rounds at 1,000 meters, and it still has enough velocity to engage, right? That less than or that around 200-pound non-four-legged critter. Now, as far as hunting four-legged critter goes, it's definitely amazing for. Let's face it. It's a lightened or shortened 243, right? 6mm is 243, and so boar and pigs, eastern whitetail. Even if you're really close range, inside of 200 meters, it'll probably still really get the job done. Certainly on antelope, muleys, and bigger western whitetail. But like I said, still wouldn't be my choice. Could I get the job done? Certainly on a good day, making sure you get that good clean shot. But maybe inside of 100 meters, we're talking far more effective on the bigger game. But again, wouldn't be my choice. Like I said, it is definitely my choice for the self-defense CQB, all around carbine. Now start getting into the short action, or the AR-10 box, right? 6 Creedmoor. So we're talking about shooting the same bullets, the 103 to 105 or 108 grain, and there's some 110s out there for it as well. I think there's even some 112s. But commonly, the most common 6mm round is the 105 Burger. But your 103 Hornady ELDX and your 108 Hornady ELDMs are very easily found on the shelves of most sporting goods stores. So the Burger is not. Burger is actually pretty difficult to find, even if you're just looking to purchase bullets. So at least right now, at the making of this video. So again, 6mm is 243. The 6 Creed is very similar to 243 Winchester. It's pushing that 103 to 108 grain bullet right around, anywhere from 2950 to 3000 feet per second factory ammo. It's actually, to me, as far as, target shooting, even the non-four-legged type, right? This would make one hell of a AR-10 style gun. What we see it mostly used for is competition, right? PRS guys are shooting 6 Creed all the way down to 6 ARC, and that's going to include like 6 BR, 6 Dasher, 6 XC, and they're just all variations. All those that I just mentioned are kind of in between the 6 ARC and the 6 Creed as far as case volume, cartridge size, etc. And the velocities would be relative to those cartridges. 6 Creed is what I shoot in comp. It's just, like I said, super readily available. You're talking about a round that you can consistently shoot to 1,200 meters or so, sometimes even further, better conditions, better guns, etc. But as far as energy goes, shooting animals, man, it is, again, a less than 200-pound cartridge, less than 200-pound animal cartridge. And the distance are going to vary, but if you're asking me, hey, I want to shoot a muley with 6 Creed, I'm going to tell you, probably inside of 500 meters. If you're an excellent shot, can guarantee me a bullet room hit. It just doesn't have, because it's a lighter weight bullet, has a super high BC, awesome performance. And again, that's why, it's used to hit steel in competition so much, but not so much for hunting. Eastern whitetail, antelope, like I said, anything less than 200 pounds and under 400 meters, it's still going to do the job. In the comments on that post that I made on Instagram, some guys were talking about putting these short action calibers in their carbine. Again, that's not very common. I don't see a lot of guys running around with AR-10 sized carbines. Could you do it? Yes, I have done it. I had an SR-25 one time, chambered in .308, a long time ago, quite a long time ago. And, it was a shorter barrel gun, and I used it as a carbine, but I also used it as urban sniper support. So it can be done. It just, it gets heavy. The ammo's heavy. You can't carry as much of it. Can't put as much in the magazine. So to me, our carbines, in my mind, are still, AR-15 boxes. Couldn't you do it? Absolutely. Just not my favorite thing right now, simply because of 6 ARC. The 6.5 Creedmoor, probably the most popular bolt action round, at least, I don't know, 308 might be out there. I would say it is the 6.5 Creedmoor is the most common bolt action round out there in shooters that are educated on performance. 6.5 Creedmoor does beat 308 anything pretty much beyond 600 meters. Inside of 6, especially inside of 500 meters, the 308, it's a bigger, heavier bullet. It's going to hit harder. So for hunting inside of 500 meters, the 308 starts to win, right? This is big debate. For actually just hitting a steel target, 6.5 Creedmoor stomps the hell out of 308. It doesn't go transonic out of most guns until almost 1,000 meters, whereas the 308 is going to go transonic. In other words, it goes from supersonic velocities, it slows down or negatively decelerates into transonic velocities, and that's a velocity that is in between supersonic and subsonic. And so 6.5 Creedmoor doesn't go to transonic velocities till 950 meters, even over 1,000 meters, according which bullet you're shooting, whether it's a 140 grain bullet, 143 grain bullet, or some of the bigger, heavier 156s are not very popular. The most popular, best BC, best all around for 6.5 Creedmoor for long range is the 140 grain bullet, the Sierra Match King, and the ELDM. Hornets ELDM. So again, I kind of, instead of specifically talking about 6.5 Creedmoor, I kind of digressed straight into the comparison with the 308. But as far as the 6.5 Creedmoor goes, right, it's going to be great for 200-pound and less animals all the way to 400 and 500 meters. If you're shooting muleys with it, bigger, 250-pound deer, you might want to bring that in some, that range, 300 to 400 meters. It's about as far as you'd want to engage, animals that big. I've seen dudes shoot elk with 6.5 Creedmoor. A lot of times it takes 2, 3, 5 rounds to kill the animal. My hunting ethics disallows me. I just can't wrap my head around what I consider to be basically torturing an animal. When I shoot an animal, I want it to get hit with enough energy that sends a shockwave through its body, shuts that CNS down, they lay down, and then they expire from the wounds, right? That's what energy does. And I think a lot of folks, a lot of people don't understand that ripple effect that energy puts through and shuts down the central nervous system, and just, when you see that animal just buckle, drop like a dirty dish rag, even though it's still breathing, heart's still pumping, it's expiring, that central nervous system got turned off just by that shock wave, that energy that rippled through its body. And so that's my problem with shooting, big animals with calibers that don't have a bunch of energy. It just can't send that shockwave through its body. So I'm not a big fan of using, 6.5 Creedmoor for hunting animals much larger than 200 pounds. 308, like I said, man, a lot of guys, call it one of God's calibers. The 308 is frankly, it sucks for long range. Its long range is about 1,000 meters. I have a bolt gun that shoots 308 kind of fast. It's a phenomenal 308 gun. I'll plug my buddy Lee at Stumpy's Custom Guns for building the thing, but for whatever reason, it just runs bullets a little faster than I've ever seen. And it's a 1,000-meter gun. On average, your off the shelf, your Bergeras, your Tikas, non-custom guns, they're 800, 900 meters at best with 308. And I'm talking 168, 175 grain, the biggest, heaviest, highest BC bullets that we can cram in its case. That's still about as far in the perfect world as we're going to get out of 308. Yes, can you lob rounds to a mile until you finally get a hit or two? Certainly, we can do that with just about any cartridge. Hell, I can shoot 22 long rifle to 600 meters if I lob them. It's just not common or practical. I have 308 for only one reason: ammo availability. When we couldn't find ammo in the whole ammo crisis from COVID, I could find 308 and continued to shoot it. I bought a 308 gun, 2 308 student guns, just to cover that gap, just because folks couldn't get 6.5, 6, or some of the other more popular calibers, more higher performing calibers. And I don't even argue with dudes who try to say 308 is better or good for long range. It's just 800 meters, 1,000 meters just isn't really that far. It's not really long range. And the reality is it's slow. It can become unpredictable just because it has a low BC. It's got a really, heavy ass end of the bullet. And a lot of people don't know this, that bullets, as they start to lose stability, they start to rotate around their heaviest point, right? And if you look at, the way, like a 308, it tapers back and it has a really heavy ass end. The 5.56 is the same way. And what happens is these bullets start losing that stability, lose their spin. They actually start to do this, right? And so when they start to do that, right, as they fly through the air, they're getting more and more surface area. And at some point, right, the bullet will actually flip over and fly backwards. Rarely do bullets just tumble out of control unless they hit something like a branch or a piece of grass or stick, whatever. Then they'll fly all kinds of crazy, do all kinds of stuff, and actually tumble. But then these bullets start wobbling like that. They pass through transonic, and in the subsonic, they become very unpredictable. And that's just old bullet technology, right? 308 was never designed to fly through transonic and still be predictable. Unlike if you compare it to, we'll compare it to 6.5. I mean, this is 6.5 PRC, but it's the same bullet that's in the 6.5 Creedmoor. It's 143 grain ELDX. So if you look at the two compared to each other, and I know I'm digressing, guys, right? You can see that the bullet starts to straighten out much sooner. So it's longer, it has a more straight cross section, and that's what it's going to give it its higher BC. And that's when you hear guys talk about BC, that all BC is, the higher BC is going to allow for this bullet to fly through transonic and into subsonic and remain predictable and consistent. And that's why 308 isn't. Once it passes through subsonic, it starts misbehaving. But like I said, 500 meters and in, heck, for hunting and just energy purposes, well, we got to worry about wind a little bit. Inside of 500, you're not going to see a whole lot of difference in the wind's effects on 6.5 Creedmoor versus 308. Lots of energy. Plenty of energy for muleys, even elk. I would probably try to reserve elk with 172 grain ELDXs, shooting elk 400 meters or so, maybe 5 on a nice perfect day that I could guarantee you that vital zone hit. So it'll do the work, right? I don't want to say 308 is necessarily antiquated for hunting, but it's definitely antiquated for long range shooting. 6.5 PRC. 6.5 PRC was supposed to be the round that bridged the gap between 6.5 Creedmoor and the Magnums. Your 30 caliber Magnums, 300 Win Mag, 300 PRC, 30 Nosler, 300 Norma. So it's basically, if you compare the 6.5 Creedmoor and the 6.5 PRC, all right, clearly we've got a lot more case volume, a lot more powder in the PRC. Like I said, same bullets, only the PRC is going to be pushing this bullet about 250 feet per second, and in some cases almost 300 feet per second faster than the Creedmoor. So although they both have pretty decent BCs, this bullet has a BC of, so according to who you ask, if you ask Applied Ballistic, 292, if you ask Corny, it's 314. So anytime we're getting right close to 0.3 of BC, we're getting into the higher BC bullets. Basically this round is going to really stretch its capabilities, comparable to the 6.5 Creedmoor. It doesn't go transonic till much closer to 1,200 meters. And it's a mile gun all day long. I got my DSF anyway, trued my gun on both sides of transonic, and was stacking rounds at a mile. Shooting 1 foot, 12-inch groups at a mile. So sub MOA still at 1,610 meters. But it kind of failed to truly bridge that gap. 6.5 PRC, it'll kill anything, certainly, on North America. If you ask me about elk, I'm going to still talk somewhere close to what the 308 does. Good conditions, guaranteed bullet room, hit 500 meters all day long with the 143 LDXs. I'd be okay with that. More comfy, closer to 400. It is the perfect deer, big western deer, muleys. It's perfect for that. A little hot for eastern whitetail, a little hot for antelope, but it could probably do it. You're just gonna lose a little of that other side shoulder on the exit wound. If I was to shoot antelope or eastern whitetail, something less than 200 pounds with 6.5 PRC, I'm probably going to let him have it in the neck. I have no problems, base of the spine, just under the base of the spine, neck shooting animals. I shot an elk that way a couple years ago, just because he was really close, and that's what I talk about, that energy. I would rather lose neck meat than shoulder meat, and you put it through the spine or even just close to the spine, you're going to bust those arteries, cause swelling in the trachea, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what I talk about, that energy, creating that shock wave, that cavitational wound, and that's what I would look at with the PRC. It's got plenty of energy for shooting those 200-pound and less animals, the 6.5 PRC in neck shots. So of course the 7 and the 300 do as well. I have retired my 6.5 PRC gun and going to the 7mm PRC. It truly bridges the gap between the Creedmoor and 308 and your short action guns. It truly bridges that gap and actually kind of overlaps the 300s in some ways. 7mm, it's 28 caliber, 284, and the highest BC of any bullet here. This is 175 grain ELDX. It's 175 grain ELDX. It's coming out of a 22-inch barrel just shy of 3,000 feet per second. It's not going to go transonic till, I haven't trued, so I haven't even really looked at it, a calculator, but, it's probably somewhere right around, 1,350, 1,400 meters. Its transonic zone is therefore going to be somewhere all the way to 1,800 meters. So this gun is definitely, or that cartridge, 7mm PRC, is definitely for ring and steel. It's pure performance. You're looking at 2,500 meters or so. Whereas your 30 caliber, your 300 PRC, Even though, if you just compared the two, man, you know, Americans can't help it. We think bigger is better. Uh, obviously case volume. If you kind of look at them, right, they're very scalable, right? So if you just kind of blew this dude up proportionally, it would look a lot like this. This is a 212 grain ELDX. Both of these guys will kill anything on North America, 1,000 meters and in. Plenty of energy, right? I shot a 1,600 pound Yukon moose with this round 3 seasons ago, and he was just over 700 meters. He dropped like a dirty dish, right? Shut him down. Shot him right through the bullet room there. Good vital shot. I mean, of course, it's hard to miss a basketball-sized heart at 700 meters. But it dropped him. So practically speaking, right, these two are very, very comparable. If you said, hey man, we're going to hunt, polar bear, and your shot's going to be 600 meters, which one? I mean, they're pretty comparable at that range. After 7, 8, definitely after 1,000 meters to about 11, 1,200 meters, their energy is going to be pretty similar, comparable. Like I said, the 7 is the highest BC here. It's like 3.5 versus 3.18 or 3.2-ish with this. And you know what, this is all coming out of my head, so don't quote me on perfection on that stuff. But these are general and similar terms. Give you a good idea. That BC means this 28 caliber bullet is going to carry its velocity much further, right? It's coming out 100 feet per second, 100 feet per second faster or so than the 212 grain. So 175 versus 212. Yep, inside of 400 and 500 meters, the 30 caliber wins for energy. Accuracy wise, they're both going to be so similar. You really just can't go wrong. The thing you might consider is recoil. If you're carrying a lightweight, like 8-pound hunting rifle, this guy, especially in that range, if you're talking 7-8 pound rifle, you may not have a muzzle brake. This dude's going to thump you pretty hard. Not that this guy isn't. It's not going to hit you like a 7 rim mag, but it's still got some thump. Not quite as much as your 300 is going to have, but that might be a consideration. I shoot with either a suppressor with integrated brake or a brake, and so recoil's not really, I don't really care. I'm running an APA 10 port brake. If I'm running a brake for either one of these, or a Silencer Co. Omega with integrated brake, or the Scythe TI integrated brake, so it makes shooting these guys comfortable. I mean, they still kick a little bit, but not so bad that you can't track your own shots, whether you hit or miss. Like I said, pretty comparable. I'm really excited about the 7mm, to be right honest with you. Can't wait to get some shooting done with it. But all said and done, having considered all that information, it comes down to me, the best thing available on the market for your gas gun AR-15 size carbine is the 6ARC. Real quick, what about 6.5 Grendel? Before the 6ARC, I would have said yes, the 6.5 Grendel is the best thing we can fit in the AR-15 box. The 6ARC extends the range and with comparable energy of the 6.5 Creedmoor by 300 to 400 meters, and that's why it's a winner. Pure energy up close, yeah, the 6.5 Grendel is going to win. You're shooting 120, 130 grain bullets, so yeah, it's going to thump a little harder up close. But to have that long range capability, 6ARC kicks the shit out of anything we can cram in a AR-15 box. As far as my long gun goes, I literally could take either one of these all day long. As far as pure performance and leaning that way, that 7 PRC is kind of going to win. And like I said, practically speaking, you're not going to go wrong with either one of these guys. So that kind of sums it up. Hopefully this information is helpful to you and can help you decide. If you said, hey, Tony, because you guys are always looking for the one cartridge. I need one cartridge. I want to shoot everything from, 100-pound Sika deer to, 1,600-pound moose. then the 7mm is going to be the answer, simply because you can get 160 grain all the way to 190 grain bullets for this. There are some boutique loaders out there that load down really light, so you could shoot the lighter, smaller animals, and then load her up nice and heavy for the bigger animals. So, like I said, I hope that information helps, and whichever one you choose, I hope it works really well on whatever you're shooting with it.